Hello, my name's John Fouts. I'm a graduate of the Code Louisville program, the front-end web development track with the Team Treehouse curriculum. It was a 12-week program that I graduated from with a focus on front-end web design and development, and we were encouraged to design a project that had a focus on something that we were passionate about. I'm passionate about helping people, so I chose to design a project in regards to chronic pain because I'm the founder of a local face-to-face chronic pain support group. So without further ado, let's take a look at my code and see what we have.
Okay, I thought for this I would go over some of my code first this time. This is um, something that I'd like to discuss with you regarding my project for Code Louisville. Again, this is John Fouts, and I was in the 12-week program for front-end web development. I did my project on the Kentuckiana Chronic Pain Support Group. It's a face-to-face support group for people dealing with chronic pain. So I wanted to talk about my index.html page first, and if we look at the code here, and we're viewing this in brackets, which has a nice theme so you can see the different sections clearly of code. You can see the HTML tag up here in the head section, and just the different colors very well within the code. You can see my comments too that really help the different sections stand out. You can see up here I've got my links to Bootstrap and my custom style tag, and then my nav bar here. And you can see where I've got the collapse portions of the code that allow my nav bar to collapse for mobile devices for responsive design. And here I've got my glyph icons for the home and the calendar, the book, the envelope, and the map marker that I discussed earlier in the video, and my links for the American Chronic Pain Association and pain management through WebMD and Partners Against Pain. Then the end of my nav bar. Down here you can see the different divs that I discussed, the About Info div, and again, here you can see that all of my image tags have alt tags. All my image tags have alt attributes, I'm sorry, and they're all closed as well. That's especially important later on, as we'll see with the Slit Carousel portion of the code. And here's the footer, where you can see I've included the Facebook and the Twitter icons. Uh, Here's the Facebook icon and the Twitter icon. And then here's my script references down below here, just above the closing body tag. Now, if we look at the calendar, I go over here and scroll down and grab the calendar page. Again, you'll see at the top here I've got the Bootstrap references to the CSS files. Then I've got the Slick CSS references for the Slit Carousel and my custom style sheet. And the navbar items again. And then here's my full page Google Calendar iframe, which I've named GCal full frame. I always try to name everything well, so whether I'm coding or someone else is coding, things are easy to find. Here's my Slit Carousel wrap and slider. You can see I've named these images funny and serious, 1 through 7 and 1 through 4 respectively. Ideally, I would have put all of these images in a backend database and randomly grabbed them, but time did not allow for me to do so. This is something I'm interested in building on in the future as time allows and as I gain more in-depth skill by learning the backend side of things as I continue growing and learning as a developer. Um, Down below here is the footer again, just the same as on the other page, but down here you can see that the Slit Carousel has additional settings down here of autoplay, and it scrolls infinitely right now, and it has a speed of 500. Fade is set to true, and CSS ease is set to linear. There are many, many settings available for Slit Carousel, and we'll see that in the JavaScript file in a minute. If I look at the contact page, um, this is where we're going to see the MailChimp API form. So up here in the top part in the head section, you can see the style tag, which is where MailChimp recommends that you put this information in the head of the document of the page, as well as the CDN for the MailChimp CSS file. So down here after the Nav Bar items, you can see the MailChimp form code, which is auto-generated by the API, which is really nice. It allowed me to get the functionality that I needed for my site without having to build all of that code from scratch. And it even included form bot sign-up protection, which is also appreciated. Then down here you can see the big email button area of the code where it sends a mail to Kentucky in a chronic pain at gmail.com. And the %20s, and here are spaces for the subject line of the email. And again, the image tags with the alt attributes and the closing, self-closing marks there, and the footer. Then at the bottom, the script references to the Google API and to Bootstrap. If we continue on, we'll look at the Guestbook page. And this one is the one that was really neat, that used handlebars and Firebase. Firebase was the back end that we talked about that used JSON to store data. Instead of a traditional database structure, it uses JSON. So up here you can see I've got the handlebars reference, which I used for formatting the output from Firebase. And then I've got the Firebase reference for the content delivery network up here and my custom style sheet. And here's my Nav Bar again. I don't think I mentioned this before, so I'll mention it now, but of course the list item here has the class of active for whatever page we're on. Down here you can see the left side of the form, which is a traditional form, basically an HTML, where you've got your name, email address, city, state, and zip, where I'm collecting data from the user for the guestbook as the guestbook input. And the guestbook output is controlled by a panel style within Bootstrap. And down here you can see the double braces that are indicative of handlebars styling, I guess, or from the template that we used from handlebars that the mentor helped me with. If we look even further down, function 2 here is what controls the input side of the form. So on the left side of the form, when the user inputs their information, there's a submit button. So you can see all these different variable names for name, email, city, state, zip, comment, and date. But when the user clicks submit, then we push this data out to the database, to the Firebase database. And this data is stored in that database. You can see where that function is called right here, funct2. And then what I do on read of the data from Firebase is I call this function right here, which calls all messages snapshot. This is just the syntax that's required for Firebase. And then we go through for each message snapshot. We look at the child value for name, email, city, state, zip, and comment. And if the name value is not blank, then I append this to the template and handlebars, and I include it on the guestbook panel section in Bootstrap to be viewed by the user. Down here I have some code that I don't really need anymore, but I'm going to keep it for debugging purposes. This console.log snapshot.val shows me the data that's stored in the Firebase database in the console, which was very helpful when I was debugging this. Then down at the bottom we've got the footer information again and the script references. If I look at the directions page, this is the page where I used geolocation services, which again, uh, I don't think for sure that anybody else used this. There may have been some other people in the course that used geolocation services. I'm not 100%, but I'm thankful that I got to learn about it nonetheless. Um, so what I did was I set this up to have a fixed destination of the YMCA in Jeffersonville with this latitude and longitude where the meetings for the Kentucky Anti-Chronic Pain Support Group take place. I even included a map marker with the title of Kentucky Anti-Chronic Pain Support Group meeting at YMCA of Jeffersonville so people don't get confused. And then people can choose to allow geolocation services um, to help them get to the meetings easier in regards to accessibility. If their browser does not support geolocation services or their device, then there is built-in error trapping for that. Geolocation not supported or not enabled, you can see that message right here in this function. And then down here is the Nav Bar. On the end of the Nav Bar, you can see the maps, the map canvas right here, and the style of how the person is getting there, whether they're driving, bicycling, walking, or using public transport. Then down here is the script references in the footer again. So that pretty much covers that page. This is my CSS file. This is where I customized a lot of what I needed to after what Bootstrap provides for you. You can see I added some to the glyph icon class, and I changed some things miscellaneously here and there where I needed to with CSS as I went along. Very happy with what I was able to learn and the amount of time that I had. I feel like I learned a great deal and got a lot out of the course, and I feel like I would be a very good front-end web developer if given the opportunity to create some wonderful creative projects. Let's see here. I did want to look at the slick JavaScript file over here so I could show you some of the options. I mean, there are so many of them. You can see just looking down through here how many there are. This is a really powerful carousel. I would highly recommend it, but it is kind of finicky. It took me a while to get it to work properly within my code, but I did get it there eventually. John Fouts here again from Code Louisville's front-end web development course that was a 12-week program. I'm a graduate of that program, and I'm here to talk about my website today, which is the Kentucky Anti-Chronic Pain Support Group website. I am the facilitator of this face-to-face support group, which is part of the American Chronic Pain Association's support group system nationwide. And I decided to design a website for my support group that I facilitate here in this area, which is just getting going. I wanted to do something that I was passionate about, and helping people is something that I'm definitely passionate about in my life. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my website here to show you what I've done. So without further ado, let's get going here. Over here on the top left part of the page, you can see my brand logo, Kentucky Anti-Chronic Pain Support Group. Then in this section here, you can see my home, calendar, guestbook, contact, directions, and resources links, and my nav bar. And you can see that I've included glyph icons, a little house, a little calendar, a little book, a little mail envelope, a little map marker, and a little chain for links here for resources where I linked the American Chronic Pain Association, Pain Management Health Center and Partners Against Pain links. And I'll be adding on to that as time goes on, but this is just to get started. If you look down here, I have these purple ribbons, which are for invisible illness awareness. And then here you can see I've got 3 divs in the grid system. I am using Bootstrap as a framework for design here, so you'll notice the grid system throughout my site design. You can see I have an iframe here that links to a Google Calendar and agenda view. So I am using the Google Calendar API here for that. Down here I have links to my Facebook and Twitter pages for the support group, and they are active. You can see there's my Facebook page for the Kentuckiana Chronic Pain group, and my Twitter page, which is brand new right there. Then on my calendar page here, you can see I have a full iframe here that shows the full calendar for people that may want to see a different view instead of just the agenda view for the upcoming events for the group. Over here you can see a Slit Carousel feature that I've included that scrolls through several images. I have included, I believe, 11 images right now. Ideally, I'd like to set up a database where I pull from a database of 1,000 images or so randomly, but that's something that I'll work on in the future. This is built with a Slit Carousel, which is a really neat carousel feature that I learned how to use while I was in the Code Louisville program. Something I have built in is that if you hover over the image, the carousel will stop scrolling, so you'll have a chance to look at what you are reading. So that's something that's nice. We can move on to the next page. We'll go ahead and look at the footer really quickly to show you that it's just the same as the other pages. Move on to the guest book here. You can see that on the left side of the page here is the input part of the form where you have name, email address, city, state, and zip, and a place for your comments, and a submit button. On the right side of the page is the guest book itself. After you click the submit button, the information is sent to my Firebase database. Firebase stores information in JSON format, JavaScript object notation. So once my internet pulls up here, we can take a look at that. I will log on briefly. It should have my information stored. Of course it doesn't right now. Well, we'll keep talking about the guest book feature first. Basically what happens is we submit data with the submit button down there. It gets sent to Firebase where the data is stored in JSON format. The JSON information is called back through a function in my code and displayed in this panel area of the Bootstrap framework over here on the right side of the page. Let's see if this page is loaded now. Alright, it is loaded, so we can actually see the data itself. You can see the internet connection I'm dealing with and why it takes me forever to do anything. Sometimes at home here. I'm sure you can edit that out. Anyway, over here you can see the individual unique keys that are automatically generated by Firebase for each entry into the database, and then you can see city, comment, date, email, name, state, and zip that have been input into the database. And I did want to look at Firebase really quickly, firebase.com, just to show you what it is. It is something that is pretty unique right now. Data in your Firebase database is stored as JSON and synchronized in real time to every connected client. When you build cross-platform apps with Android, iOS, and JavaScript software development kits, all of your clients share one Firebase database and automatically receive updates with the newest data. And it automatically scales with your app, so you don't have to worry about scaling issues. It also offers security features and does work offline. So it's something that I believe will be a very rapidly growing thing that we see a lot more of in the future. I was thankful to learn about it in the Code Louisville class. Thankful to the mentor that showed that to me. Over here we've got the contact page where you can see the MailChimp API form where you can subscribe to the email list. Email, first name, last name, birthday, message, subscribe, great big email button. If you click on that, it brings up the email client on the user's machine to email the Kentuckiana Chronic Pain Support Group. I click on directions here, you'll see this geolocation services wants to know your location, allow or block. I'm going to click allow. I'm using MiFi. For some reason it thinks I'm in Atlanta even though I'm sitting in Memphis, Indiana. I'm not going to click on that because if I got directions from Atlanta, Georgia to Jeffersonville, Indiana, they'd be really long. But most people will be in the Louisville area for this support group, and you can see I offer driving directions, bicycling, public transport, or walking. And I see I have a typo there that I need to fix, so I will be adjusting that for bicycling. Then over here I've got the resources and the links underneath of that. So basically that covers my website.
Thank you for reviewing my project. I really appreciate the time you spent to take a look at the project that I've created here. I would like to mention that as far as next steps go in regard to my project, I consider everything a vision in progress, not a work in progress. I like to think that things always have room to grow, and that's something that I would like to do professionally, is always continue to learn and grow. That's something that I believe that employers view as an asset, and that's something that I hope that they see as could be a potential asset by adding me to their team. Again, my name is John Fouts, and I'm a graduate of the Code Louisville program here in Louisville, Kentucky. I completed the front-end web development program here, the 12-week program, and I would like to thank you again for your time.